All right, welcome back. Now, if you're studying for your ITIL 4 foundation exam, listen up, because this is the one explainer you absolutely cannot afford to skip. We are about to dive deep into the ITIL management practices. This is the heart of day-to-day operations, and let's be honest, it's the single most critical section for your exam. So, let's get right into it.
And no, I am not exaggerating one bit. Just look at this number. Over half of your entire exam, that's 52.5% to be exact, is going to come directly from what we're about to cover right now. So it's time to get focused, because really mastering these next few minutes, that's your direct path to passing this thing.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what a practice actually is. Then, we'll walk through the big ones you have to know: the continual improvement loop, how we handle service and change, the practices your customers see, and finally, how we secure everything and get it deployed.
Okay, first things first, we have to build our foundation. So what in the world does ITIL even mean when they use the word practice?
Well, here's the official definition, and it's simple, but it's really powerful. A practice is a set of organizational resources designed for performing work or accomplishing an objective. The best way to think about it is like a toolbox. It's got everything you need: people, processes, technology, the whole shebang to get a specific job done and done right. It's so much more than just a process. It's the entire capability.
And here's something crucial. None of these practices are set in stone. They have to evolve, right? Well, the engine that drives all that evolution is the continual improvement practice. It gives us a universal model for getting better, all the time. And this 7-step model, you absolutely have to know this loop. It starts with the big picture. What's the vision? Then it gets real. You ask, okay, where are we right now and where do we really want to be? From there, you build a plan. How do we get there? And then you do it. You take action. But it doesn't stop there, does it? You have to look back and check, did we actually get there? And maybe most important of all, how do we keep this momentum going? It's this cycle that makes sure you're always aligned with what the business actually needs.
All right, let's get into the core operational stuff. This is where we deal with the daily reality of IT. Things break and things need to change. How we manage that chaos is really what separates a good IT shop from a truly great one.
Go ahead and burn this definition into your brain. A change is the addition, modification, or removal of anything that could have a direct or indirect effect on services. See how broad that is? We're not just talking software updates here. This could be hardware, documentation, a process, anything. And the whole point of change control is to maximize our successful changes while keeping risk as low as possible.
Now, the exam is definitely going to ask you about the 3 types of change. First, you've got standard changes. These are your everyday, low-risk things, like a password reset. They're already pre-authorized. Then you have normal changes. These are bigger deals. They need scheduling, a risk assessment, formal approval. Think about rolling out a major server patch. And finally, you've got emergency changes. This is for when the building is on fire, metaphorically speaking. They have to happen right now to fix a huge issue, so they get an expedited, fast-track process.
So what happens when things do go wrong? Well, that brings us to the incident. An incident is an unplanned interruption to a service or a reduction in its quality. The key words to remember there are unplanned and interruption. If the email server goes down, that's an incident. And the only goal of incident management is to get things back to normal as fast as humanly possible.
And that leads us perfectly into the next critical idea. A problem is the cause of one or more of those incidents. So if the email server goes down every single Friday afternoon, well, the server being down is the incident, but why it keeps going down, that's the problem.
You know, here is the absolute best way to remember the difference. It's a classic analogy for a reason. Incident management is basically firefighting. Your only job is to put the fire out right now. Get it done. Problem management, that's the arson investigation that happens later. Your goal isn't to fight the fire that's already out. It's to dig in, find the root cause, and make sure that kind of fire can never, ever start again.
Now, within problem management, there are 2 more terms you have got to know for the exam. First is a workaround. That's just a temporary fix. You know, like telling users to just restart your computer? That's a workaround. Then you have a known error. A known error is a problem we've already identified, we've analyzed it, but we just haven't permanently fixed it yet. We know the bug exists, but we don't have the patch ready. I promise you, these 2 terms are absolute exam favorite.
Okay, let's pivot. Now we're going to talk about the practices that are the direct interface with our users. This is all about managing relationships, setting expectations, and handling requests.
So these 3 really work hand in hand. You've got the service desk, that's the single point of contact. the friendly face of IT. Then you have service level management, or SLM. This is where we negotiate and write down performance targets in what's called a service level agreement, or an SLA. And finally, service request management gives us a smooth, easy process for handling all those standard pre-approved requests, like I need access to that new app, or I need to order a new laptop.
All right, let's wrap up with the final set of practices. These are all about protecting our assets and actually getting new stuff into the hands of our users.
Okay, 2 more key practices to lock in. Information security management is all about protecting our information, and it does that by balancing 3 things: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. You'll hear that called the classic CIA triad. And then there's deployment management. This is the nitty-gritty technical job of moving new code, new hardware, or whatever into the live production environment. It's just about the move itself, which is different from the much broader release management practice that coordinates the whole release from start to finish.
And there you have it. Those are the core management practices that are going to make up more than half of your ITIL exam. We've hit the definitions and the critical differences you need to know. But look, the real key here isn't just to memorize this stuff, it's to truly understand it. So as you look at this list, I'll leave you with a question to think about. In your own organization, which one of these practices, if you could just improve it, would make the biggest difference? Answering that, well, that's the first real step to putting ITIL into practice.